weight. And then you want to make sure you weight the final grades by clicking in that checkbox. And then it's just a matter of working through and assigning the different point value percentages, to the different groups. So I'm just going to fill that in. And as I'm entering the different percentages, Canvas is adding it up and making sure that it goes to 100. When I'm done, I just click Save. So again, you can use the groups to organize the assignments as you're creating them. You can also use those groups to weight your final grade if that's what you're interested in doing. And to do that, you simply make sure you go into the settings, specify that you're going to weight, and then you specify the different percentages. Any questions about assignment groups?
The only thing, because I think 2 people asked it before I had a chance to respond to both. When it comes to creating groups, no, it is not a requirement, especially if you're already using modules and that's how you're structuring items. The only times you would want to use that it would be required is if, like Rayleigh just mentioned, you're doing that weighted gradebook. And the second one, and this is more for the gradebook session, but if you want students to be able to see the averages for particular areas, Canvas, or yourself for that matter within gradebook, if you have things done by these groups or these categories, Canvas will also give you an average for that category, if that makes sense.
And it is perfectly okay to have all of your assignments listed in a single group called assignments. So yeah, you do not have to create these separate groups if you don't need them. Okay.
And one other note, and thank you for Allison for catching us on this. Unfortunately, we only realized that we were not recording until about 2 minutes ago. I know. It's an off day for both of us, I think. So significant apologies go for that. If you were looking to review some of this, I'll see what we can do about that. But we are recording now.
We'll run another session and record that one. That's what we're going to do. All right, John? Okay, moving on. It happens. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I want to create a couple of assignments just to go through a couple of different things. I don't know how many of you may be interested, but we are integrated with Turnitin for plagiarism detection. So I just want to walk through how you would create an assignment that you wanted to use Turnitin with to show you how that's set up. And so I'm going to start the process just like I did with that previous assignment. I'm going to click the Add Assignment button here at the top. I'm going to call this research paper. Again, the top areas where you specify your instructions, make sure you fill in the point value. And then remember I mentioned we would come back to this assignment group. Now that I've actually created different assignment groups, I can specify which group this particular assignment belongs to as I'm in this particular screen. So this belongs in the papers group, so I'm going to select papers from the drop down. I'm going to leave it set to points. When you're using an integration like Turnitin, what we have to change is the submission type. So I'm going to click the arrow. I'm going to select External Tool. And then I have to go find Turnitin in the list of options. So I'm going to click Find. I'm going to scroll down, and I'll find Turnitin in my list of options. I'm going to click on it. Say select, and then everything else is the same. How many attempts do you want to allow? When is it due? And then I'm just going to click Save and Publish. So it will look slightly different because it is linking us directly to the Turnitin integration. There are optional settings that you can run through on the Turnitin side. We'll cover those on another day. I just want to mention that it's available. So if you have specific questions about what all of these mean, talk to us. We can cover that during the drop-in sessions. But basically now, once that assignment has been created, when a student clicks to access it, they are actually going to be prompted to upload and submit to a Turnitin Dropbox so that the plagiarism detection software will do its thing and return the originality report to you. So that's one of the things that we get a lot of questions about, is how you set up a Turnitin assignment, and that's how you do that. Another question that we often get is how to make an assignment available to students with different due dates. So you have an assignment, it was due on a particular date for the class, but then you have a student who's asked for an extension or who needs to turn it in earlier, or whatever the request is. I'm going to select one of my assignments, and I'm going to edit, and I'm going to scroll all the way down to the bottom. So in our assign section, remember I said the default is that it's assigned to everyone. Okay, so I'm going to just pick a date that everyone has to submit this by. If you get a request from a student and you decide that you're going to honor that request and you want to make sure that that student has another week to complete, I don't have to create a separate assignment. I can actually use this button that's located at the bottom of the assign options to select the student, and what will happen is you will see your roster of students who are registered for your course here. You would select that student from the list who needs the extra time, and then for that student, you can select a different due date. So for everyone else, the assignment will be due July 27th, but for this particular student, the assignment will be due August 3rd. So very easily you can differentiate a single assignment to have multiple due dates for different students. And if I needed to have 5 different due dates, Canvas would allow me to do that. So that way you're not trying to manage 5 different columns in the gradebook. You still have a single column where all of the grades for that particular assignment will show up, but Canvas will manage the different due dates for you. Any questions about that?
One question I'm actually I don't remember if we've tested this clearly. With the assign to, if you're doing a graded discussion, can you set that granular level for the student within discussions? I think we would have to look.
Absolutely.
Look at that.
Yep, it is doable. And so again, that would work the same way for quizzes as well. So if you built a quiz in Canvas, you can specify that other students have different due dates for that particular quiz. Okay. Another question that we get asked is related to rubrics in Canvas, and I'm going to pick a different assignment, not this Turnitin assignment. So if you have a rubric that you use to grade essays or to grade certain assignments or to grade lab reports, and you want students to have access to that rubric in Canvas, you could just provide them with the Word version or PDF version of that rubric, but Canvas does allow you to build and attach rubrics within the Canvas environment. What that allows you to do is also grade with that rubric in SpeedGrader, so it allows for you to have faster, easier grading if you're working with rubrics. And the way you attach a rubric to an assignment is you find that assignment and you click that assignment title, and then you want to look for the Add Rubric button that will be at the bottom left of that assignment page. When you click Add Rubric, you have 2 options. You can start building a rubric from scratch right here on the fly. Or if you had previously gone into the rubrics tool and built your rubric prior to creating the assignment, you could use the Find a Rubric option to search for a rubric that already exists and attaches it to a particular assignment. But to grade or to create a rubric on the fly, you simply give it a title. Every field that's listed here that needs to be edited is criteria and rating and point. So for example, maybe this criteria is relevance of answer to question. If you had a really long description, you could also provide that in the log description field. I'm going to update that. And then you have to specify what the ratings are. So this lab report is out of 100 points, and so each criteria for me is going to be worth 25 points. But I want to have 4 ratings. So I want to have the first rating where they earn full marks is that they've done excellent work. Again, I have a full field here if I want to give a long description. I can say they earn 18 points if they've meet expectations. And then I can click again the plus button to add another rating. This is 10 points. This is below expectations. And then the very last one is no marks, and so I could say this was missing or serious problems. Update rating. So my first criteria in the rubric is here, and I've specified the ratings that I want to be able to use for this assignment. So to create additional criteria, I simply click this plus criterion button, and I can either create a new one or I can duplicate. So if I want to use the same ratings as before, the fastest way to do this is to say duplicate, and I'm going to duplicate that. I'm just going to give it a new name. And I'm going to update. So you can very quickly build a rubric in Canvas. It might be a little tedious the first time through, especially if you have them created and beautifully organized and formatted in Word. It might take a little bit of patience to rebuild it in Canvas. So I'm going to create one more, and this is mechanics. But what's nice about it, now that I've got my criterion in, my points add up to 100, I'm going to tell Canvas that I want to use this rubric for assignment grading. I can also choose to remove the points from the rubric. There's some research out there that says students will pay more attention to the feedback you're providing them if there's no points attached to it. So instead of looking to see what they earned as a numeric score, they might actually pay more attention to the feedback you've taken time to give them. So if you wanted to do that, you could choose to remove points from the rubric. I'm not going to do that. I'm just going to go ahead and say create rubric. Once you've created and attached a rubric to an assignment, a student is able to review that rubric. They know before they even upload and submit how they're going to be evaluated. They know before they turn it in what you're looking for and what the ratings are, and it just gives them an idea that they're on the right track before they submit to you. So again, what we did was we selected an assignment. We looked for that add rubric button. We built a rubric on the fly, but you can also search for a rubric that might already exist. So if that's the one I want to use, I can just say use this rubric, and we've attached it to the assignment. So it's really easy to build and attach rubrics to assignments in Canvas. And in a second, I will show you how you use that to grade. So any questions before we jump ahead, John?
I think I've gotten to just about everybody in the chat so far. If I missed you completely and it's been a couple of minutes, please feel free to send it again.
Okay. So what I want to do is I want to do a new share because I kind of want to show you what the assignments looks like from the student perspective. So I'm going to do a new share. And this time you should be seeing my screen, but you're looking at it from the student perspective. So I'm just going to refresh really quickly. So as a student, I can get information about assignments in a couple of different places. When I'm logged into Canvas and I'm in my dashboard, you'll see at the top right side of the screen, there's a list of coming up. So it lets us know at a glance what assignments are due in my courses here in this to-do list on the right-hand side. If I have submitted work and the instructor has graded it, that will show up for me as well under recent feedback. And I have a link directly to my grades right here from the dashboard, okay? I can go into my course. Again, that to-do list appears on the right-hand side of my screen. So if I needed to get to any of those particular assignments to work on them, all of these links are clickable. I can also, as a student, clear my to-do list. So as I submit work and it's done, I can exit out of the list. So if I want to go into the research paper assignment, I can either click the link here in the to-do list. I can go to assignments and find it on the assignment page. And if I had added it to modules, I would also be able to get to that assignment from modules. So I'm going to click research paper. No, wrong one, because we're not really students, so Turnitin won't work. So I'm going to pick, see, I'm batting 1,000 here. There we go. Lab report. So that's how the rubric appears to the student perspective. It just gives them a preview of how you're going to be evaluating them. Any instructions that you provided are up at the top in the instructions field. There's a reminder of the due date, how many points they're earning, and what they need to submit. So in this case, I've got to upload a file. When I'm ready to actually do that upload, I click Submit Assignment. We recently added the Google LTI to Canvas, so Google Drive now appears as an option automatically for students. So once they authorize, they would be able to select and submit from their Google Drive. If they just need to upload from their computer, they're simply going to click File Upload, Browse, and then they're just going to grab the document they want to submit. If multiple files are required, students absolutely have the ability to upload multiple files. So if you require that they're submitting 2 or 3 different documents or files for one assignment, they would simply add another file and upload and add another file and upload. If they wanted to provide a comment or ask a question related to this, or they can provide that comment here to the instructor. And when they're finished, they simply click Submit Assignment. Once they've submitted, if the assignment is allowing multiple submissions, they would have a Resubmit button. If this was limited to a single submission, there would be no button available here. On the right-hand side of the screen are the submission information. So it does give them a summary. It lets them know that they've successfully submitted, what day and time, and there's actually also a link that they can access the file that they've uploaded and submitted, as well as a preview of the comments that they provided to the instructor. Okay, so I'm going to go back in as the instructor. I'm going to head over to assignments, and I'm going to click Lab Report. And so you'll see that now, as the instructor, I can see that there's one submission waiting for me to grade. I can download that submission and look at it outside of Canvas, but I can also grade directly in Canvas by going to the speed grader. And just to give you a quick look at the speed grader from the instructor perspective, the document or the file that the student has submitted will be available in the Doc Viewer pane on the left-hand side of the screen. So you can see it directly in Canvas if it's a Word doc, a spreadsheet, a presentation, a PDF document, images, they will all appear here on the left-hand side of the screen. You can use the options in the Doc Viewer to annotate directly on the student submission. So if you wanted to provide comments, you can. If you wanted to highlight, you can do that as well and provide a comment. You also have the ability to doodle right on using the drawing tool. You can also do strike through. So you have lots of options for annotating directly on the student submission on the left-hand side of the screen. On the right-hand side of the screen is where you're going to enter the student grades, provide them overall feedback, and if you've attached the rubric, this is also where you're going to access the rubric for grading. So in order to see the rubric, and I'm just going to rearrange my screen a little bit, I'm going to click View Rubric. And what you'll see is that rubric we created shows up, and I can very quickly click through the rubric to score the student. Once I hit save, the grade from the rubric is automatically put in the grade field. I can also provide feedback here. Overall, click submit to save that. And anything that I've done here on this screen, students are able to review when they look at their grades. And anything I've also entered here is also automatically saved in the grade book. So there's that 78 that transferred directly from the rubric. So any questions about what we saw really quickly, grading assignments from the instructor perspective? Okay, so go ahead, John, you were going to say something.
So just because there was a few questions around annotations and SpeedGrid, and I don't think we just went to that now. I would have to double check on which file formats are compatible, because that's where most of the questions have centered around. But kind of tailing off of what Quayle was speaking of earlier, when it comes to restricting file formats, what tends to work the best and kind of your foolproof and your fail-proof is just require PDFs. You don't have to do that by any means. However, if you want to make sure that things are always going to work without fail, PDFs usually are the way to go. And I'm always a fan of kind of those teachable moments, and it never hurts to make sure that students know how to save their work as a PDF.
Yeah. And if not PDF, Word docs, Google Slides, Google Sheets, all of the typical Microsoft formats are accepted in DocViewer and will display them with no problems.
And Christine, good question. If they see, if it's a JPEG or a Word document or a PDF, will they see your annotations on the writing? Yes, students are able to access all of that. You just have to make sure you let them know that you gave feedback. Canvas isn't great at making it obvious to students. Feedback is available.
So I just went back in as the student. And so now I have an alert that there's a new grade for me because I just graded that lab report for the student. So as a student, I would click grades. I can see the numeric score for the lab report is listed. If I click the little bubble icon, I can also see any of the text feedback that was provided. But in order to see that rubric, I actually click the rubric icon that's to the right of the comment bubbles, and I can see the rubric as it was filled out for the instructor by me. In order to actually see the annotation, I've got to click on the assignment itself, and then I've got to click view feedback. And then that will open up the view of the annotated file, and they're able to see my annotations and all of my comments. So students will need to be coached or reminded to click through, because sometimes the only clicking they do is grades and they just look at this screen. The annotations don't show up on this screen. They actually have to click the name of the assignment, and then they have to click this view feedback link in order to get the window that shows them the annotations along with the comments. Okay, so the only two topics that I didn't cover that I just want to mention briefly, I talked about the attendance tool in Canvas and how that can automatically add an assignment to a course. I'm going to just add attendance to this course really quickly. And when you click attendance as an instructor, you will eventually see your class list once it loads. Oh my goodness, Canvas. Okay, so you have a list of students in your roster. You could mark everybody present. If someone wasn't present, you can go back and mark them as absent. But as soon as I take attendance the very first time, when I head back to my assignments area in this course, a brand new assignment gets created whether I like it or not, called roll call attendance. If you do not want this attendance assignment to interfere with the calculations that you've set up for your grade in Canvas, we can edit this assignment by clicking the assignment title and going into the assignment settings. And there's a couple of ways you can handle it. You can make it a 0-point assignment so that it doesn't affect your grades. You can select not graded from the display grade as, so it will take it out of the grade book completely. So you still have a record of attendance. You can still take attendance and be able to export an attendance report at the end of the semester, but this will not add this assignment to the grade book and affect your calculations in any way. And the other thing that you can do is you can create a new assignment group called attendance and give it a weighted percentage of 0 so that it will not affect the overall grade calculation. So there's 3 different ways that you can handle that roll call attendance assignment if you don't want it to affect grade calculations. And that's either make it a 0-point assignment, select not graded as the display option, or put it in a assignment group that has a 0% total. Okay. Any questions about that? Okay. That was the last topic that I had on my list to cover. So we can open it up to overall questions, or if John, you need me
Really
to.
quick, can you just go back into the roll call and show how we can view the exported history? Or
Sure.
not even the exported, just be able to go back in time and review history?
Sure.
Or both?
We'll wait patiently for it to load again. Oh boy.
Wow, it really is slow today.
Yeah. There we go. So at the top right, you're going to look for that gear icon, and it's the attendance report. When I select attendance report, I can give it a start date and an end date. And then what it will do is it will email me, it'll run the report, and it'll email me a link for me to access that report. And you can open that report in Excel. So it gives you a list of all of the students, list of all of the dates, and whether they were absent or present. And there's even the ability to specify whether they were late.
So follow-up question from Christine. Do students see their attendance? And you'll quickly learn this is not our most favorite tool.
Yeah.
Not
so as long as the tool is visible in the course menu, students can click that link and see it. Because it automatically creates that roll call attendance assignment, if you don't make changes to it, they will see that show up in the gradebook as well. So if it's something that you don't want them to be able to see, then you've got to hide it in the menu, as well as make changes to the assignment so it doesn't show up in the gradebook.
Yeah, we don't love this tool.
Yeah, no. But it does, if it's used, it does throw a monkey wrench in grade calculations, and we get a lot of questions about it every semester.
So Lee, as far as how you would get the quiz from an external test bank, we can't go over that because it's different for every publisher. However, the process for importing a static quiz file we can show very quickly. And this is the same for when we're importing any type of external file.
You want to go into your settings. You're looking for the option to import course content. That's either going to be on the right side of your screen or listed at the bottom of your screen. And then depending on the format that it was provided to you, it could have been provided to you as a Canvas course export. If it has that format, it could have been provided to you as a QTI zip file. And there are some publishers who may not have a Canvas export option, so it might also have been provided to you as a Blackboard file or one of these other file types. So it's simply a matter of selecting the format of the file you have and then selecting that file, and then you can import, and it will automatically bring the quizzes in, the questions in, and create them for you in Canvas.
At this point, I've set it so folks can take themselves off of mute. I just realized that Shinzo had actually raised his hand, and I'm sorry, I had the chat window blocking that, so I'll let you go first.
That's okay. I have a question regarding roll call attendance actually.
Okay.
Is there any way we can say that weight in that maybe say participation and attendance 10%, and then I would allow 2 say misses, absences, and then when the third absence comes, then we will start to take points away from that. How do we set that up?
The short answer is there is no way to easily do that
Okay.
without doing manual manipulation in Canvas. So we could set up a group called attendance and we could specify that it's worth 10%, but there's no way to say, don't start deducting after the certain number of absences.
Yeah,
Canvas
I'm
will,
bothered by that.
yeah, yeah.
Okay.
That's something you would still have to do manually.
Okay.
This is why we really, it's not our favorite tool. It's really, it's more of, I like to call it kind of like that litmus test if you just want to quickly check people off and then do all of your other, if you're doing grades, download the Excel file and then do everything manually.
I'm sorry, I didn't get that part. Could you say that again?
The roll call attendance tool is really, like, personally, I think it's a better use of just marking whether or not somebody is here. And then at the end of the semester or maybe at the halfway mark, you download everything to Excel and you make any manipulations you would want to.
Okay. Okay, yeah. Thank you.
And Quinn, unfortunately, that wouldn't work because everything with roll call is just one assignment no matter what. You can't actually, it's bizarre how they haven't really played with it.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you anyway.
Any other questions? I know there was a few folks who were asking about peer review. At this point, I don't think we would have time to go. Yeah, I don't think we would have time to go into detail. We could quickly maybe go over how to do it, but
so I'll go back to this particular assignment and I'll say edit. So if you want to allow peer review for a particular assignment, the first thing you have to do is select the peer review checkbox. Then you have to tell Canvas, are you manually assigning peer review? So do you want to be in control of which students are able to look at and review each other, or do you just want Canvas to automatically assign the peer reviews? And then you have to tell Canvas whether the peer reviews should be anonymous. So if you feel like students will give better feedback to each other if their names are not attached to that feedback, then you would want to select the anonymous option. We're going to go ahead and click Save. What is given to you once peer reviews is enabled is this extra link on the assignment page for peer reviews. And so as the instructor, if I'm going to manually assign those, I've got to go into peer review. And it gives me a list of the students in my class. And for each student, I can run through and say, okay, this particular student is going to review that person. And this particular student will review this person. So you're manually walking through and letting Canvas know which students should be able to review each other. If you wanted to automatically do it, then you could use the options here on the right-hand side and you could specify each person does 1 review or each person does 2 reviews. And then if I hit assign peer reviews, come on. Maybe I don't have enough people in the roster, but it's only showing me the 1. If you accidentally assign somebody that you shouldn't be together, you can delete and reassign. And so what happens is once this is done, students, when they're on their home page in their to-do list on the right-hand side of the screen, they get alerted to a peer review. So once their classmate has uploaded and submitted work for them to look at, a notification is triggered. And on the right-hand side of the home page, in the links area, in the to-do list area, there's a link to the peer review that the student clicks to access. And they see something similar to what you see in SpeedGrader in that The preview of the document is on the left-hand side of the screen, and on the right-hand side of the screen is where they are able to type in their text feedback.
Sharon, unfortunately, we wouldn't be able to show what the results look like from the peer review just because we don't have enough users where we could go in on a back end and show it right now. I know that's something a few people have asked about, and so hopefully in the next couple of weeks we could get a couple folks together, maybe during the drop-ins if we gathered enough people to kind of do a quick test run.
Okay, other questions? So it is 2:03. I hope we were able to answer as many as we could. If we didn't, or if there's other topics that you want to explore further, I would say come join us next week at any of our drop-ins, and we can try to answer the questions there. You can also submit tickets. That's really the best way. There's John with the virtual drop-ins. And you can also submit tickets help desk at rider.edu because we're all monitoring those queues, and we would be able to grab your ticket and get you an answer to the questions you have. But thank you, everybody.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Oh, you're welcome.
Thank you.